Hey, everybody, welcome to Why We Love Horror. This is episode 69, everybody. So what a great movie.
Oh, nice.
Aaron, Abby, how are you doing today?
We're doing okay.
Yeah, feeling sexy for episode 69. So we got a nice, cold, Nordic 19th century atmospheric horror for us. Nothing gets me harder.
Well, that's a great intro. Here's The Damned. The Damned looks like this.
Late one night, when everyone was in bed, there was a knock at the door.
May the Lord protect you from harmful sea creatures and dangerous pirates.
Go.
Poor bastards.
We're not going to help them.
Helping those men will put all of your lives at risk, and I cannot do that.
Whatever wreckage can float, we'll stay close to them.
There!
I've seen evil trying to get in here.
The dead can't break free if you hammer iron nails into their feet.
What happened on that ship was a terrible tragedy.
He doesn't care. I wouldn't sleep if I were you. A thing like that never stops.
It's never too late to ask for forgiveness for what we did.
It won't stop until it's taken all of us.
Keep it away! Keep it away from me!
We should not be here.
Help me! Help me!
The living are always more dangerous than the dead.
Once again, I get marketing, but some of the most hyperbolic blurbs I've ever seen for a movie. I did not want to pause this movie. If I was watching myself, I might have paused the movie because I would have gone to the bathroom or something. But I would not pause the movie by virtue of pausing the movie because I was scared or needed a break. Again, this isn't the worst movie we've seen, but I think as we were walking out, Aaron did say January horror, which seems to be a plague upon the horror community. Again, the movie's fine. Your initial thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. I didn't know what this movie was going into it. I hadn't really heard of it. And I mean, again, it's not the worst thing that we're going to watch this year. I thought that there was good performances. I thought the atmosphere was really good. The beginning reminded me of like kind of Game of Thrones-y almost, and like not just because the Hound is in this movie for like a second. But just the feel of it felt very much like that, like they were beyond the wall or something like that. But yeah, it's not the worst thing, but I don't think I'm really going to remember this come 2026.
Yeah, I got a lot of theories about this movie, and none of them are leading to glowing places for this movie. I think this was filmed on the Game of Thrones set as they're deconstructing, and they're like, hey, can we use this for a minute? Can we use this for a minute? Can we use this for a minute? Can we borrow the Hound before he goes and films Gladiator 2? Yeah, this movie wanted to be very chilling. But it did not follow the necessary steps. I'm sorry. I just saw on Letterboxd. I think all of us kind of thought this also. This is Robert Eggers at home. Truly Robert Eggers at home. We have Robert Eggers at home. This is like what I feel like people accuse Robert Eggers of being. This movie is, unfortunately. And it's also lacking the attention to detail that makes Robert Eggers Robert Eggers. I'll get out of the way right away. With a movie like this, I want to feel cold. And this movie did not make me feel cold. You are constantly like seeing a little bit of snow, but not really. And nobody's breath is seen except for one scene. And I know that's going to sound like a huge nitpick if you've not seen the movie. Well, if you've seen the movie, the fact that they add the breath to one scene and decide to forget about it in the other 20 scenes is a mind-boggling decision that really took me out of the whole movie. And maybe seeing breath would have literally made this movie a little better to me, but it felt like they were filming in Arizona with snow around.
Yeah, they're allegedly snowed in. Roy McCann's character Ragnar says, the roads are impassable. They're snowed in. There, you can see the rocks on the ground.
Yes.
Like there's like a dusting of snow. You never see it snow.
Never.
And these people are constantly walking around outdoors for hours with nothing, with not even wearing gloves. Like there's nothing, or they wrap their hands, but their fingers are out. Like you'd be fucked up. Especially if you're working to the water, you'd be done. Like if that was going on. So yeah, the attention to detail is not there. Movie does start strong, but then the more you watch it, the more you're like, this is fake as fuck.
Yeah, it really just this movie, an atmospheric slow burn horror with very forgettable characters. Like if you're not immersing me in it, what is getting me into this story? Like I'll be damned if I'm going to get into a story like that. I guess I'm the damned here because I was waiting to be immersed and just not. And I'm not going to give a movie credit for coming out in January and being okay. Like we got to not do that because there's been The Invisible Man. There's been other movies that come out in January that are good. The Wolfman that we're going to talk about, please God, with all the trailers, make that movie good. You can have movies come out in January at this point that are good. So like being like, this is pretty good for January. No, it's not.
Fair enough, Abby.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with all of that. I think my main problem with this movie, and you kind of touched upon it, is just not feeling much of anything for anyone in this movie. There's quite a few characters, and I think all of the performances are really good by everyone. But the problem is, like, there were some moments where I was like, wait, like, who is still around? Who is still alive? Like, who is this person? I couldn't really differentiate anybody. I didn't know anything about these characters except for maybe like one detail. And none of them were really that interesting. The main girl, again, a good performance. I don't know if I could really say much about her. I don't know why she was kind of like I don't know. She felt like she was sort of a leader to like all of these men that were there. I don't know why.
She owns the camp.
She owns it. Okay. I knew she had a husband that died. And that's basically it. So again, the performances were good, but like I just didn't really care enough. And then when they all start going crazy and like seeing things, it just, again, I didn't really care about what was happening. And again, it was really hard to keep track of who was still around and who we end up with in the end.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, yeah, you do miss, like, it makes sense you wouldn't figure out what her role is because literally all the important information they give you is in passing. Like, she's a widow. We're not really clear like why or how her husband died, but it's a dangerous job. It's like the the biggest catch of the
world's deadliest catch, except instead of crabs, it's fish.
Yeah, and like you hear that this season is bad, but it's not the worst one they've ever had. So like all the tension is kind of explained, even though there is tension because like they're not catching shit. Apparently the racks used to be full of fish. They're starving. They're eating their bait. But then they kind of like dismiss all that. It's like, oh no, but we've been through this before. We're hardy stock. It's like, okay, I guess that's not a thing. Then the big thing happens where they see on the horizon where the jagged rocks are, just a ship they don't know anything about goes down. And they make the decision like, oh, well, we can go out there and like, salvage whatever's floating. And that turns out to be like a huge mistake for multiple reasons. One, there's survivors out there that kind of try to jump on their rowboat, which causes some collateral damage.
Hijinks ensue.
Yes.
Yeah, hijinks do ensue. And then apparently, just by virtue of not, I mean, tell me if I misconstrued the movie. By virtue of not doing the most moral thing, they're cursed now.
Yes, correct.
Essentially,
and
I wasn't sure if it was because of like the people themselves, like were they like into like the supernatural like demon type stuff that like they curse the people. I don't know, but I mean, they don't really explain what it is that's like causing them to go crazy and like curse them and like are essentially like hunting them one by one. I guess it's just a moral thing is what I kind of came up with in the end.
Yeah, do the right thing, like Spike Lee said.
It's kind of like, yeah, and like that's kind of like my biggest issue. My biggest issue with the movie is like the explanation, like the exposition we get doesn't make any sense because like we see it from the main character's point of view that she's clearly just
put up the spoiler tag. Put up the spoiler tag.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
spoil this awesome movie.
Yeah, she's either hallucinating or the curse is making her hallucinate. So we understand what happens to her, but we have no context for what happens to anybody else. Like,
wait, so you could say that the movie failed at its job again?
Yeah.
Okay, not only did it not immerse us, it doesn't answer any questions. It just stops. Like, it just stops. We all sat through about 3 to 4 lines of credits. The whole crowd, like the whole crowd of 6 people. We all sat there, and then we like started to get up and just accept it was over. But it just stops, man. It just stops. Like it shows the twist at the end of the movie is that she's seeing this guy from the ship who just needs like help as a monster demon, and then therefore shoots him and lights him on fire and destroys her camp because she sees a monster demon. But then like when she's outside in the lukewarm cold, with no breath, even at night, just never too cold there, and they're drinking and everything. It's great. She like all of a sudden like has a realization like, oh, that guy was just like a dude who had a pocket watch he wanted to give me so he could use my boat, and I just should have let him use that. But it doesn't show how the person who decides to slit their throat happens. It should have really did a Saw style like reveal for the last 90 seconds where it's like, oh, look at how all these crazy folks saw this. Isn't that nuts? That's kind of cool. And then you'd be like, oh, I want to go rewatch that. Mm-hmm. There's no way I'll ever rewatch this movie.
There's such a weird mix between like it being a nature survival movie, because there are a few people that die for that reason. And it's also people dying supernaturally. It doesn't make, this is not The Thing. I think it thinks it's in the same vein as The Thing. It's not.
Robert Eggers presents The Thing.
Yeah,
like,
Robert Eggers presents The Thing, but not Robert Eggers. It's Robert Eggers. One G.
It's not Robert even the front room directors. It's like even worse.
Because Rory McCann's character falls off the boat. We never see him again. I assume drowned, hypothermia. The one cook lady, Helga, leaves. Like this 70-year-old woman just decides I'm going to stop.
I was wondering about her. Like, why did she just leave? Like, did she, at first I was like, did she like get taken by this creature or whatever it is? But no, we find her just frozen in the
with a bird
wilderness.
on her.
I was supposed to believe the dude who she hallucinates as a demon is the guy that stole all the fish. He stole all the fish and
this
all
guy
the
did it all.
For what? For himself? Where the fuck did it go?
Where's my movie of this guy and how he pulled all that off?
Yeah,
that's the more interesting. Yeah, I'd watch that.
You're right. Nothing. It just doesn't like the pieces don't fit. You have a bunch of jigsaw puzzle pieces that do not fit together. They're all from different puzzles, and you lazily put them all in the same box. Because I don't understand what happens. Yeah, to Joe Cole's character, like he slits his own throat. Why the one heavy set dude, the big dude, like he has like a horrible like hallucination. Like everyone's attacking him, and they have to mercy kill him because he's going to kill everybody.
What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. And like
the coolest part is how they call back to the smashed glass, which I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that glass broke at like the beginning of the movie. And then
her hand on it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, ow. That's pathetic. That's the coolest part of this movie. It's like the callback to the glass they dropped. Like,
yeah, they had. I mean, the one thing I am going to say, because I've said it before on other shows on this channel, is the thing I probably should have been suspicious of from the very beginning is this is a Vertical Pictures production. Like it's got like a 25% chance of being good. And
there are some other Vertical Pictures just for our audience.
I think a Sacrifice, which came out last year. Eric Bana was a Vertical movie. I'd have to go off the top of my head. I'm not going to name them, but I know
the Sacrifice one. I always got confused with The Substance before they came out. I was like, which one of these is the Substance? So yeah.
Let's see.
Definitely.
The Anthony Mackie movie Elevation was a vertical movie. The Order that we just saw is a vertical movie. Your Monster was a vertical movie.
Yeah.
So like these are like middling movies. Oh, The Exorcism with Russell Crowe was a vertical movie. I mean, like they have potential to put out good movies. It's just that they make more not good movies than good movies.
Yeah. This and just to finish piling on this movie, and then we can get to our ratings. This, unfortunately, I can tell this was a first-time feature director debut. Like, and just like, I get it. I keep harping on the breath thing, but it's just really a very, very, very simple little. I mean, it's just like it doesn't have to be that cold for you to see your breath. And this is supposed to be like frigid. And when they're inside, like, man, do they feel inside? And the insulation of the 19th century, we've gone back. Because I occasionally have a draft out of our windows here. So whatever design they have there, we could use maybe. But like, it just, those little things don't bother me if the movie's at all good. But to me, this movie is fine at best. And it getting like the credit it's getting for just being fine is kind of sad and makes me worried for movies.
Yeah, I would say, okay, I'm gonna give Vertical some credit because they started off strong. The first two horror movies they made were The Final Girls and Under the Shadow, so they have potential to put out good movies. They also did the American remake of Inside, so it has the full spectrum of. But like, yeah, Vertical always gives me pause. Like they're not Jagged Edge, but like I know it because even if the movie looks good, it's probably gonna have shortcomings. Like this one, like the trailer for this looked good. But yeah, once you're watching it, the breath thing, once Aaron said it, 18 times, I was like, he's right.
Unfortunately, if I had the opportunity to say it 18 times, maybe that means I'm right. Yeah. And then the fact that they put fucking breath in one of the scenes infuriated me. Like, you know what? You've committed to your director artistic choice here. I get it. Snow's expensive. So you couldn't afford the snowstorm, so you just had to tell us there's a snowstorm. This movie tells it doesn't show throughout.
Right.
And that's a huge problem for me.
All right, well, we'll take this down. We'll get right to our ratings unless anybody has anything else to add.
No. It's that.
I'll start. Like I said, this movie's not like, it's not egregiously bad. It's just not good. But it's not horrible. Like, it's only 88 minutes, so you're not suffering. It's not like you're sitting there for 2.5 hours. It's not like one of those movies. So I just give it a 2.5. It's fine. It's fine. Abby?
Yeah, I feel very similarly. I don't think that this will be on like our worst of list next year. Maybe on Aaron's. I don't know. I just think they thought they were doing something bigger with this movie when it's really not that great. Again, it looks good. There's good performances, but there's just a lot I didn't really care about. And I think especially with the ending, they thought they were doing something, but it was predictable and just very abrupt. I also gave it 2.5.
All right. Aaron.
Yeah, I like this movie the least out of us. Proud of it as well. This is Robert Eggers at home. This is very, very, and I mean that in a very, very bad way. If I was watching this at home, I wouldn't have gone through it. I would have been watching off my phone the entire time. I'm very glad I watched it in the theater for that reason. 2 videotapes, and that's being very generous, mostly because the performances are good. I will say that. The performances are really, like, top to bottom, I think they are well performed. I just wish they got a little better material to work with because that's not their fault. This director, I think, will get an opportunity to do something better in the future as well. So, there's that. So maybe, that leads to something. But this is not going to be one I ever revisit.
All right. And like we're going to be doing every week, we are doing the Why We Love Horror Challenge. It's the 2025 Why We Love Horror Challenge. So here's a cool new graphic for you. I'm so proud of that. Anyway, if you want to join in, and you can join at any time, if you're not late, you're just joining now. You can go to that website on Letterboxd and pick your list, clone your list, interact with us. By all means, if you're doing it, you should be interacting with us. This week is week 1. Watch a movie off of the current top 50 of 2024 list. at Horrorville on Letterboxd, and we ended with Aaron's rating. So we'll start with Aaron. What did you watch off the top 50 of 2024?
So I watched a film that, the restaurant horror, movie subgenre it's bustling right now. We got the menu, and now we have all of the products that come afterwards. And I went with What You Wish For, the Nicholas Stahl vehicle. It's about a degenerate gambler who takes a job from his friend with a mysterious place called the Agency, I believe is how they refer to as. This is one where I love the premise. I thought there was a great setup there. And this is, not the week where I love horror, I guess, because I was not having a good time as this movie went on. It turns into much more of a thriller than a horror for sure. And that's not why I disliked it. I disliked it because all the smart characters were the dumbest characters in the movie. And there's no way this agency would have made it past like one round of this gig with how messy and like how not careful they are. There's like points in the movie where characters who shouldn't get to talk together alone get to just peruse around together and hand each other secret messages through spoons. I mean, it's just, and then the detective just decides to not detect. So it's like really frustrating movie. Not one, very disappointing for me.
Abby, what did you watch?
I watched the same thing. We had the same movie this week, and I think I liked it a little bit more than Aaron. It's definitely not The Menu. I would recommend The Menu if you want like a chef cooking horror movie. Like that's probably like one of the best. It reminds me of another movie that's significantly better, but it would kind of give away one of the big reveals in this movie, which I'm not going to do because I was kind of surprised. There is a reveal that happens in this movie, and I kind of liked that twist. But yeah, I mean, it's a frustrating movie. I was entertained by it though. I didn't hate it, but there are definitely better movies.
And the food looks awful in this movie.
I watched Severin Falla and Veronica Franz's newest movie, and you should be familiar with them as a directorial duo. The Devil's Bath, which was high up on the list. I've heard everybody say good things about it. It is a good movie. It's a cautionary tale. Just check to see if your husband's gay before you marry him. It's probably something you should do because you may fall into a very deep depression if you don't know your husband's gay and you're going to do it. It leads to bad things and dead children. We don't want that. So The Devil's Bath, everybody. That'll do it for this week. Right. If you made this far in the video, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Go to the Facebook group of Why We Love Horror. Go to the Letterboxd. Join the Letterboxd 2025 challenge. And, if you do that, subscribe here. If you subscribe here, do that. We'd love to grow things. We're actively growing things here in 2025. Schedule here on the channel. Sunday, we do Why We Love Horror TV. Mondays versus Thursday, you're watching it. And Friday is always Why We Love Horror Trivia. So until next time, I'm John Maher. That's Abby Brooks. And that's Aaron Brooks. And we'll see you next week on Why We Love Horror.